Welcome, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. Can we rise for the pledge, please?
Oh, well, we got a call to order first.
call to
Sorry,
order.
but we can.
Yep, no, we
We'll
can.
do it really fast. They can
Okay.
rise. Mr. Antoine is absent with notice. Ms. Bonnick is here. Ms. Bowman? Here. Mr. Boyer?
Present.
Ms. Chahaki?
Here.
Ms. Eichhorst?
Here.
And Ms. Rice is absent with notice.
All right, let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Second.
Second?
Motion.
Motion by Bowman, second by
Boyer?
Boyer.
Yeah.
These B names.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to separate the third policy, or the three policies, into three categories. So F1 being the bylaw conflict of interest, F2 being policy 301, and F3 being policy 404. So those three would be broken into three separate votes.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
is that seconded first?
I'll second that.
Okay. Questions?
So the policy committee met, and this is just a first reading. Would it not make more sense for it to stay together, and if you have questions, and then at the next time?
No, I'd like to have them separated into three separate categories and voted on separately
For a first reading?
for first reading.
And what would your rationale be? Just curious?
Because
I
I want
mean-
them separated.
Okay.
Is he able to turn his mic on?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Good. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I have a motion by,
That was
Eric.
seconded.
and second. Any other further questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That passes.
Actually, would it be an amendment to the agenda?
So the agenda item F will be amended under consent action. Give you a minute.
4-1, correct?
Well,
The motion passed 4-1.
yeah,
Okay.
but just point of order for a second. We were on approval of agenda, and so then that would have been an amendment to the agenda, and then we'd be approving the agenda. So we haven't done that yet, right?
Correct.
Correct. So do you want to do
Okay.
the amendment? Okay, so we motion to amend tonight's agenda. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda with that amendment?
I'll make
Well-
a motion.
We already have that
Yeah.
motion's
Motion,
on
we
the
need-
The
table.
motion's there, we just need to vote.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, that was still open, is what I was trying to say. So we weren't really needing another motion and a second, is what I'm
Both
trying
the
to get at.
amend-
So it's
amendment
all
and
the same.
approval are good.
Yes,
4-1 agenda passed.
yes.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Robinson, would you like to move on to Bulldog
I
Spotlight?
would. All right, tonight we've been, last few spotlights, we've had some of our younger friends, so we're gonna switch it up to the high school. And in recognition of February being CTE Awareness Month, Mrs. Dawson is here, our CTE director, so Eva, if you wanna come up to the podium. Can I bring my food? You can. I can click for you, or you can,
I can click. That's fine. It's not a cup. All right. Oh, teachers, come up here. They're very humble. So this medical group here. So. And then, oh, Rachel and yeah, come on up here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, perfect. Well, good evening, board. Thank you for having us. We are very excited to be here, and February is CTE month. And what we love about CTE month is I feel like February is the perfect time for it because all of these programs that we have here at Romeo, which is a huge list, have been working hard all year round. We have competitions going on, projects going on, things that are just culminating and coming up together. And it's just a really great time in the school year. We're all busy, we're all tired, but when you see these students excel in the things that they are doing, it's just so extremely rewarding. You know, these programs here as well, too, we couldn't do it without the community. We couldn't do it without the board. We couldn't do it without our technology department. We couldn't do it without our administration. Buildings and grounds. I mean, seriously, it is a true community effort here. You know, I see other school districts, everything is great, but I'm telling you, Romeo is the best. We totally feel the support here, and we are very proud of that. You know, the academy models fully support CTE, and it has just really projected us to the next level. So we are so thankful for that, and thank you guys for all that support you always give us. At the beginning of February, we started off with our McTeo Award. So McTeo is Macomb Career and Technical Education Administrators Association award winners, and we've had 2 students this year. We have Rachel Kitchen from the Architecture Pathway. Come on up, Rachel. And Jackson Swartz from the Law and Public Safety Pathway. I'd like you guys to give them, please, a big round of applause for these 2 wonderful students. We're really excited about how they were nominated. We were only allowed to nominate 2 students, and there are I think they said at the number, something like 20,000 CTE students in Macomb. So it is a huge honor, and I'd like to read the nominations from their teachers. Rachel Kitchen, her architecture teacher, Megan Cahill, she wrote, Rachel has demonstrated exceptional dedication and leadership in her architectural studies. Highly organized and dependable, she never misses a deadline and brings remarkable attention to detail every project. Her kindness and willingness to assist others makes her a valued and supportive presence in the classroom. Rachel plans to go to Lawrence Tech for architecture studies. So congratulations, Rachel. Jackson Swartz, who is our Law and Public Safety, he was nominated by his teacher, Mr. Bustineau. Mr. Bustineau wrote, Jackson Swartz is a leader in law and public safety program. He gained invaluable experience by observing a full murder trial in Judge Viviana's courtroom and played a pivotal role in leading his mock trial team to state competition in just its 2nd year. Renowned for his sharp cross-examinations and compelling closing arguments, Jackson's skills have left a lasting impression. After RHS, he plans to pursue a career in law. Congratulations, Jackson, again.
Board members, if you want joining them, this is Jen Farley, meeting photographer.
Oh, yeah, wow, all right.
Isn't it the Styles class?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Congratulations again to our CTE students for this year.
We also wanted to highlight a program specifically in CTE that we have in Romeo. And this was really, really difficult. Like I said, we have amazing programs. Our teachers work really hard. And it was really difficult to actually just select one. However, though, our medical pathway program this year truly deserves acknowledgement for the incredible work that they have done in just a few short months. So this year, we would like to recognize teachers. Come on up, please don't be shy. We'd like to recognize medical teachers, or medical science teachers, Kelly Sandridge and Stacy Lauderman, along with EMT teacher, Mrs. Sarah Pyle. So yes, please join me in a round of applause. They definitely deserve a huge pat on the back for their behind-the-scenes effort, their dedication, their coordinations, the thousands and thousands of emails, the extra effort, and the willingness to make things happen. They have, and this is a really impressive number, they have 58 field study students plus 24 EMT students, making that 82 students that are going in the field regularly, working in facilities. These students are placed at 16 different locations around this area. These kids are getting hands-on experience regularly in the field. They're being trained by these teachers here, getting their certifications and their knowledge, and they're actually applying them daily in their field study placements and their EMT clinicals. This compassion and passion that the teachers bring to the program is very evident, and I know I personally feel extremely blessed and very happy every day to work with you three. So thank you guys very much for an awesome job that you are doing. I'd love to hear from two students actually regarding their programs, and then we'll have a teacher actually speak a little bit too. I'd like to have Chase Lark please come up. Chase is a field studies student, and Chase is going to talk a little bit about their experience at the medical field study facility and just kind of tell us a little bit about being in the medical program here at Romeo.
Okay, can you hear me? You good? Okay, so my name is Chase Lark. I'm 17. I'm a senior here at Romeo. And so a little bit about me, like I've wanted to go into biomedical engineering for a while. And so when I was introduced with this opportunity in 9th grade, it was eye-opening to see like how much of an impact on like my professional development it could have. And so I am in the emergency or the non-emergency medical pathway, and throughout like the 3 years of doing it, we've done so many things to not only improve like my job like resources like to go into my next field, but also like first aid stuff. And so straight from the start, like in 10th grade, we did a lot of first aid things. And so we worked with like EpiPen administration, and so like if someone's having an anaphylactic shock, you can help them like that, or it's like splints and slings really quick. And then we had a very long unit on like CPR tactics, and so those are like important things I think everybody should know, but we were able to get a jump start on that and spend a lot of time on that. I can't attest to the program as it is now because, like they said, Miss Louderman and Miss Sandridge have improved it a lot since I've taken it, but starting last year, we started studying for our CCMA exam, which is to be a certified medical assistant, which is a certification and a qualification that you can have that would help you attain like a medical assisting degree straight out of high school. And so a lot of people will pay to take this course and pay to like have this qualification that they can go and get that job, but we don't have to spend any extra time like out of school or anything like that. We do like every week in, week out, we practice and we study for this exam. So then straight out of high school, like I'm a senior, I'm coming up looking for a summer job, like a 9 to 5. I can go into that with like something in my field because I will have this qualification. So with my placement, so a lot of people's placements, like their field job shadowing is different. A lot of people go to nursing homes, but I was placed at Silver Pine Medical Group. If you guys have heard of there, they have a couple locations around here. And so every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, instead of going to my class, I go there for an hour and a half before school. And they rotate me through, I think it's 5 different departments of their job, and I'm able to like follow and observe a medical professional, like what I could be using my skills for in the future. And it's really beneficial to see like the things connect from the classroom into the actual practice. Like they've said things like verbatim from what my teachers have said before. And so it's interesting to connect things like that. And I really think that this program has had like a very big like professional impact on my like just my knowledge in the career, in the pathway. Okay, thank you.
And then also Olivia Skomsky from the EMT program. She's going to tell you a little bit about her experience in the program.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olivia Skomsky. I'm an EMT student here at Romeo. I'm a senior. First, I would like to start off by saying that I, as a student here at Romeo, I'm so lucky to go to this school. I think it's so cool that we have CTE classes and all these pathway classes. I'm very lucky that I got into the medical program. I also think it's cool that aside from having your pathway class, medical EMT is my pathway class, but you can also take other pathways as your elective classes, which is cool. I have other pathway classes that I'm able to take, which going into sophomore year, while you're a ninth grader, you're actually able to choose, what pathway you want to go into. And I took this class not wanting to do anything medical related, but I want to say that taking this class actually totally persuaded me, and now I'm most definitely going to be a fire medic when I get out of high school. So thank you, Ms. Pyle, for that. So about the class, here we can see some pictures. We learn a lot about medical emergencies. We actually do clinicals at the fire station or in the ER at the hospitals. We can go to Armada Fire Station, Bruce Fire Station, and Henry Ford Macomb Hospital to do our clinicals, which is super, super cool. We get a lot of experience. We're able to see a lot of different things. So I'd like to talk a little bit about my personal experiences from clinicals and what I've learned that kind of helped me persuaded me to go into this pathway out of high school. So first of all, so a lot of things that we do in EMT is we kind of started off the class with learning the basics. We learned vitals. We learned a lot about medical emergencies. Now we're kind of switching into more traumatic situations and kind of like more serious stuff. And in the path, like in the actual field on the ambulance, what I do a lot, and along with my class, we almost always are the ones taking vitals. We're doing a lot of patient assessments. We are learning a lot about advanced airways, CPR, obviously. We are able to administer certain medications, which is really cool. I was able to administer oxygen to several patients, different medications to different patients. A lot of my classmates were able to actually do CPR in person. And something about this class is like taking it really can prepare you for some of those situations that you never know that you're going to run into. It's one of those things that you never know what can happen around you, and you want to always be prepared. And I just want to say I'm really grateful that I did take this class, and I want to thank my teachers for kind of leading me into this and helping persuade me to go into this career pathway. And I'm really glad that I'm here, and I like to be involved with my community, so thank you guys. Thank you for, I'm glad that I'm a part of Romeo. Yes, thank you.
It's true. It's pretty neat to see the medical classes here. I've had the privilege of walking into classes and seeing them actually test their students, and they're serious. And it almost brings you to tears to think about our kids actually being in a situation and being actually to help someone. It's pretty neat to see. I'd like to also call up Mrs. Pyle here just to say a few words as well. So thank you very much.
Oh man, every time I hear a student speak, it just makes me cry with just such a big heart. But what Romeo does is just truly amazing. The fact that these students are going to leave our pathway with 17 certifications, ranging from first aid to bleeding and shock control to different FEMA certifications, so they can actually respond in big mass casualty events. They've completed over 1,300 clinical hours just in my one class alone, and we have 2 other classes, okay? They get it, they want it, they feel it. When they go out into these situations, there's nothing that we can do besides try and prepare them with as much as we can. So if they go out into the field, we have no idea who's calling 911 that day. We have no idea what they're gonna see. And with our community around us, Bruce Romeo Fire, Armada. We got a couple students down at Warren Fire. They actually call me, they text me, hey, this kid just saw this. You might want to check in on them. They seem to be doing okay. We've talked to them. We've done a little debrief, but just keep checking in on them because we don't know how we're going to respond in these emergency situations until we're actually there. So it's kind of exciting that we have such a big group behind them because everybody is supporting them. They only have to do 32 clinical hours to get into that state roster, to get to move forward and get that national certification or that state license. And most of our students have well over 100. Okay, we have quite a few people out there. We have different events coming in or different groups coming in now. This year we have Oakland University. They're coming in to do some community awareness training for their own class, but they chose our school to do it with. So they're going to be working side by side with our students. We just had virtual reality, a crew come out to show all of our students how we can train by putting a virtual reality, headset on, and they had to respond to different scenarios that you just can't necessarily make up in the classroom. I mean, I can, with all of my years of experience, I can have the picture in my head, but to get them to understand what it looks like when you show up, when you're using chairs, if I put two chairs side by side and say, okay, this is a car, the car hit the wall, they can't really see that very clearly, I guess you can say. So that virtual reality came in. Sometimes we use pictures. I just told them I started the trauma, which is my favorite, but it's not for everybody. So I start showing them and exposing them to all the different types of injuries that we see that you're not necessarily prepared to see, so that hopefully when they go out in the field, they're ready for it a little bit more. But we're going to go through, they master, at least at the EMT class, 30 different hands-on skills. So they can not only assess a patient, they can identify what's going on with them, and then they know how to treat them and all the treatments involved in that. So they hear me say this over and over again. We practice to make it permanent. We practice over and over again so that you can't get it wrong. So at 2 in the morning when you haven't gone to bed yet and this is your 18th call, you're still going to be able to give that community member what they need. So it's a phenomenal program. This whole pathway is just changing their lives because they don't have to wait until their 3rd, 4th year to determine whether or not the medical field is for them. If you think of a nursing student or even someone who wants to go to med school, you want to go to med school and you take all those pre-courses, then you get into med school and you're doing great, but you don't actually see a patient for 2-3 years into the actual program. So here we get to expose them. They can actually work as an EMT while they're still going to college. And just like I believe Olivia said, these skills you're going to need throughout your whole life. If you go into construction, architecture, engineering, anything, someone's going to get hurt. I was walking up the stairs and broke my foot, okay? Anything could happen, so they'll just be a little bit more prepared. But yes, thank you for allowing this program, this pathway in Romeo. It really is making a difference.
So board, that concludes our presentation. Thank you for having us today.
I just want to say thank you as a parent who's watched their kids go through the pathways and how much it's prepared them for what they're doing now. We're just really grateful, and I don't know if many people realize Mrs. Pyle burns the midnight oil at a college level class, so we're grateful that you show up in the mornings to our high school to do that too. So thank you.
I also wanted to say thank you. I have a senior in the program, and the excitement when she comes home. I mean, she'll come home and grill her father, who's also a first responder, and sometimes they'll go back and forth. So the knowledge you're giving them and the community partners is unlike anything else. So just thank you for all your dedication.
So I just want to add one last reflection maybe. You spend a career in education and, you truly understand the power of a teacher. And one of the things that I think our medical pathway best represents is a change that's happening in K-12 education that quite honestly we need. And that is we have industry professionals who maybe at one point in time in their life thought about being a teacher, but ended up choosing a different pathway, whether that's in nursing or as a paramedic firefighter. But then at some point in time, they get the itch or the notion to take the expertise that they've received in that field and bring it to high school kids in career technical education. And so I'll admit there was a time where maybe I was just a little less receptive to that just because of how hard teaching is. But I'm grateful for the instructors and others here, because what's really taking our programming at the academies to another level is we're getting industry professionals who have worked in the field, in some cases for several years, that are now coming into the classroom, and the way they can deliver the education to our students is just different because they've been there. So thank you, ladies, for choosing to come to Romeo and to education to impact high school students, because that's certainly your passion. You can see what that means for the future. So thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Dawson, for being here tonight.
Okay, we will give our students and staff who are here for that, if they would like to step out. We are going to move on with the rest of our agenda. You are certainly welcome to stay, but that is up to you. And then we're going to go ahead and have Mrs. Lasky come.
I'm going to turn this back this way a little bit.
All right, if you're ready, Mrs. Lasky, we
Okay.
are ready to
Are you
hear
ready?
about our
Well,
budget.
Okay. So first, I'm going to present to you the 25 amended budget for the general fund. The Finance Committee had an opportunity to hear this presentation on February 11th, so they had the opportunity to ask questions and, excuse me, and hear this ahead of time. So what we're going to do is look at back to 2024 and see where we landed there, what our budget assumptions were to build the budget for 24-25 this year, and then how those changes and assumptions were changed by what is actually happened with the state budget and with our enrollment. So at the end of the year, 2024, we had added to fund balance almost $4.7 million. So at the end, on June 30th, 2024, we had a little over $17 million in fund balance, or 23.68%. Some of the enrollment assumptions that we made for 2025 was 5,286 FTEs, and that we also assumed that we were going to receive $241 per pupil to take us to $9,849 per pupil with the governor's budget, and that was her budget that she recommended to the state. So looking at these assumptions, when we looked at the April 2024 state aid status report, we started with a base of 5,222 students. And then if you look further down to the second to the last line, we projected that we would have an increase in enrollment of 64 FTEs or students, and that would add revenue of $630,000. We also had the state aid in the green box there. We assumed that we were going to get state aid of $241 per pupil, and that would add additional revenue of $1.2 million for a total of $1.9 million additional revenue for 2025. So based on those assumptions, we knew that we were going to use $1.2 million in fund balance. And what that happened because we had some ESSER funds that we were running out of, and we needed to shift some of our ESSER grant funded positions over to the general fund. And we also had some leadership priorities that we added to the budget. So when using those $1.2 million, we projected that we would have a June 30th, 2025 fund balance of $15.8 million, or 20.39%. So our enrollment, what actually happened is our enrollment is based on 10% of our February spring count and 90% of our fall October count. So our actual enrollment, FTEs, were 5,325 after the fall enrollment. And with our projection of 5,286 students, we had an additional 39 FTEs, or $353,000. So just days after we approved that budget in June, the state did a 180 on us, and they adopted a budget that gave us a per pupil foundation allowance increase of 0. And then to compensate for that, per pupil flat funding,
They reduced the normal cost, the retirement rate. I'm going to get into some really wild numbers here. So going from 20.96% to 15.21% of covered payroll. And they equated that to about $350 per pupil for our district. They assumed that for every district. Every district had a different amount that would equate to. However, our 31AA mental health grant was also reduced by $102 per pupil. So I'm going to apologize in advance for this one. It's a little bit tricky. The 147G 3% healthcare premium subsidy, I'm going to try to explain that to you and how it's impacted our budget. So the 2025 state budget adopted new categorical, this 147G. District employees that have elected healthcare in retirement have contributed 3% of their wages to fund their healthcare. But the liability in the pension healthcare has recently been fully funded. So that's making the need to continue the additional 3% from employees unnecessary. However, the Office of Retirement Services has not yet eliminated the requirement that the district remit that 3% to the ORS. And 147G reimburses employees who pay for the health care for this fiscal year. So the state's reimbursing the employees through the district in state aid. So they're sending the funds to us, then we're turning around and reimbursing employees in the district. But under the current language, the state reimburses the districts based on prior year payroll rates. So this leaves the district in the position of refunding employees at their current rate of pay. And in most cases, pay has increased. So currently, the MDE and ORS are pursuing a technical fix to this, because what this does is sets up the district to be in a deficit at the end of the year because they haven't reimbursed us appropriately. So at this moment, we're planning for the reimbursement to fall short of what we are reimbursing employees, but we're hopeful that this will be rectified and resolved in the very near future and will be fully funded. So that's a complicated one. So other state grants that were in the budget, state budget. Continued universal free lunch for all K-12 students. At-risk funding increased 9.5%. We've got continued rural district transportation cost reimbursement. Also continued early literacy targeted instruction. And our vocational education was reduced by $206,000. A couple of the grants that we planned on for this year. 23G, Kids Back on Track. We were able to fund 4 of the math interventionists that were previously funded through ESSER are in this grant. And we also had some residual money left over from ESSER 3 formula and ESSER 311T that we were allowed to spend through September 30th. So we were able to find allowable expenses to charge to those grants. Let's see, next. So on the expenditure side, we update salaries and benefits every year. We also, I talked to you just a second ago about the reimbursement of the 3%, but we've also got the Community Service Fund, which we're going to budget for support for that fund. So this fund currently doesn't have enough funds to available to offset the shortfall that we think that is going to see projecting at the end of the year. And the Community Service Fund is the fund that supports the preschool, the GSRP, and the after-school care. So over the past several weeks, Jennifer McFarland, myself, and the early childhood director and supervisor, we've been gathering data to develop some solutions to improve the results that will be at the end of this year. But we have supported the Community Service Fund in the past. That isn't that unusual to do. However, we have over the past few years had some state-funded COVID dollars that filtered through the Community Service Fund, so we were able to support it that way rather than through the general fund. So at the end of the year, we're projecting with our amended budget that we will use $928,092, which is a better position than where we started. We're estimating that the fund balance will be $16.1 million or 20.52%. I want to remind you that we always budget conservatively and anticipate that we're going to be able to report improvement at the end of the year, which we usually do. but there's still a couple of those lingering things, the childcare and the 147G, that are still a little bit up in the air, so we're leaving a little bit of room for both of those. And then this is the document that's in front of you. This is on that tan paper because I noticed I had a couple errors on it, so I wanted to give that to you on the tan, but this matches the amounts that we discussed and we have in the presentation. So I will take questions if you have any questions for me. It's exciting stuff, I know.
So I grandstanded a little in the finance subcommittee. I'll do it now and not in Mr. Boyer's report in a little bit. I just want to thank Mrs. Lasky and the business office. You know, if you follow the media at all, the state of financial affairs in Romeo Community Schools isn't a given. And there's just a lot that goes into the work that you have to do. So whether we're in the process of already planning and trying to create assumptions for next year, while we're still trying to amend and keep the budget up to date and current for this year through the audit that will happen, a lot of times you've, kind of got three pans in the fire at the same time. So Vicki, thank you for your hard work and those in your department who support that. Every now and then I have the bad habit of starting to do superintendent math, which isn't as effective as executive director of business services math. So I'm just grateful that we're able to stay on top of this. I'm grateful for our financial position, but I don't think we should overlook or take for granted that there's a handful of people that work really hard to make sure that our books are up to date and are in line, even when we have instances where it isn't the best news. And we've got to dig into some things to make sure that we get things balanced and we're planning for the future. So thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki, for that very thorough report. We're going to move on to consent action items. And we have separated out item F, so can I have a motion to approve items A, B, C, D, and E?
So moved.
Moved by Bonnick,
I'll second that.
second by Bowman. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign. Okay, consent action items A through E pass. Moving on to consent action item F1, which is the bylaw conflict of interest. This was a first reading. Hopefully you looked in your packet. All of the edits were in red and some of the proposed language. I know I had personally a lot of questions that I would like it to go back to the policy committee to revamp, so we make sure that we're putting our board in good position for the future, but also.
So I'd like
Okay.
a motion to return the bylaw conflict of interest policy to the RCS Policy Committee for substantive changes without first reading approval. This revised policy will then be presented for a first reading at a subsequent board meeting.
That is the motion.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, well, hold on. Only because I'm doing the paperwork.
Okay.
You had a
Boyer?
motion to do F1. You
Yep.
didn't have a second, but I don't know that you asked for a second.
No, Boyer.
I made the motion.
To,
I did.
So I can reread it to you if you want. I would like to return the bylaw conflict of interest policy to the RCS Policy Committee for substantive changes without first reading approval. The revised policy will then be presented for a first reading at a subsequent board meeting.
so the motion is to not even recognize this as a first reading? Am I
Correct.
hearing you correctly? Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Boyer, second by Bowman.
I don't know that I have the motion written at all.
I can get you the exact after.
Any questions?
I mean, I guess the only question I would ask is, since we were at the policy committee meeting together, it would have been nice to maybe share any of your concerns.
I expressed my concerns at that policy meeting.
But not to not bring it when that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I expressed that I had concerns at that meeting, yes. And I wasn't for bringing it to the board.
Okay.
Yep, the notes do reflect that. So I think we want to do roll call for this one?
No, just go ahead.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. F1 passes. Okay, moving on to consent action F2, which is policy, the first reading of policy 3001, which has to do with curriculum development and making sure that we have equity amongst our buildings in regards to Title I grants.
I'll move.
Moved by Bonnet,
Second.
second by Chahaki. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay, F2 passes. And then lastly, consent action F3, which was the first reading of policy 4004 as it relates to evaluation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion. Motion by Boyer, second by Chahaki. Any questions? Okay, and again, this is just a first reading to move it on to the next step. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Got that? All right, we are going to move on to our communications part. Dr. Robinson.
The board has seen in your packet, unfortunately, we've had some instances of loss across our school community, and so there was a couple of cards, and as those come in, we want to make sure we share them with the board. Additionally, your email box has been flooded with some candidates who are seeking to be on the State School Board Association Board for Region 8, I believe it is our area. So ultimately, what the state association asks is, each local school board has one vote in that process. It's important that you get your feedback to Rachel so that she can let Antoinette know how we're going to submit.
Yeah, there was an email that came on February 11th from OCSBA, which had 4 different recordings that you could view for each of the candidates. So if in the next week, if you could view those and let me know your thoughts, and we can decide on a name to move forward.
Doesn't it require us to do it at the board table, though?
No,
No, we
No.
just send it? I think
right,
always-
we just submit electronically.
Okay. I like we always voted.
Doesn't require the action of the board.
Okay.
Because there's no obligation to vote.
Yep.
They offer each local school board to select.
Wayne's always, yep.
Yeah, Wayne's always just
We're
done
used
it,
to
so I
that.
thought we did it
Right,
here
but we
and
didn't, we
told
looked
him.
back, yeah, we looked back into that because we talked about that. All right, we're going to move on to committee reports. We'll start with policy. Mr. Boyer, are you reading or Ms. Bonnet? I know our chair is absent tonight, so.
We met and discussed several of the Miller-Johnson updates. There were several that, were not interested in bringing forward to the board at this time. They either needed some additional development or waiting on some legislation that may or may not, happen and change our policies. The 3 that we were bringing 2 forward, and 1 was just a bylaw. And the 2 that we brought forward had to do with, as you mentioned, curriculum development. It basically has to do with the written assurance of equivalence and adding auxiliary staff to that process. And then the other one had to do with language that's no longer in the state law that can be removed out of our evaluations. And we definitely talked about a lot of different ones that Miller-Johnson brought forward, but again, the only ones that we felt we needed to bring forward were 3001 and 4004.
Any questions about policy? All right, I'm going to move on to curriculum. We met a few weeks ago. Most of our time together on that night was centered around special education, and you will see that reflected in our resolution number 21. Mrs. Selden did an excellent job of going a deep dive into our special ed state of the district, kind of where we're at, looking at how many IEPs and 504 plans we have, and the substantial increase, especially since COVID. I know a lot of people think COVID is done, but the learning and things that have the fallout from that we are still seeing amongst our student population that we serve, and there is definitely a demand for more special ed professional staff. One of the things that we looked at was just across the board, the different staff that we have, but that Ms. Selden is the only special ed admin that we have in our district that oversees a great caseload and staff in 10 of our buildings. So we are recommending, the curriculum committee is recommending that we approve resolution number 21, which would allow the district to have power to go forward and hire an assistant director, and that was definitely part of our leadership priorities, group number 4, which was in our strategic plan from last year. Then we moved on and we talked about our AP Calculus, the BC class, which we are going to be putting on for the schedule as a potential class for next year. We looked at our Outstanding Teacher Awards, which hopefully you saw that on all of our websites, the three teachers that were awarded that at each level. At elementary level, we talked a little bit about CKLA and that some updates will be coming in the spring for us to consider. And then a little, Mr. Murray touched on our math pilots and how that is going. And then at the secondary level, we actually had a nice follow-up to some courses that we approved last year and how they are doing this year with sports officiating at the high school level. And we talked a little bit about field trips that are coming up. And at the middle school level, we have our nonprofit academy fair that is the first annual, maybe, that's coming up this Thursday. It had to be rescheduled during Ice Day, so we talked a little bit about that. Any questions about curriculum? All right. I know Mrs. Lasky did an excellent job on finance. Is there anything that the Finance Committee would like to add with their report?
Yeah, we had a couple other points. The 297 Prospect Street, the RPF was released by Great Northern. The previous interested parties, as well as GSOP, was included in this. Bids are due March 14th by 3 p.m. Interviews will subsequently follow, and recommendations will be brought to the board March 17th in the BOE Board of Education meeting. Sale of the third series of bonds. The 2021 bond authorized $87.5 million, issued in 3 series, $60 million in 2022, $15 million in 24, and the third series of $12.5 million in before June 30th of 2025. We reviewed reviewed the 3 bond sales methods. Recommended the bond sale methods be negotiated bond sales because of the volatility in the market and the flexibility and the consistency with the methodology in the second series of bond sales. We did discuss the bond investment update, and then the 2025 bond planning proposed for November of this year. Most current proposals at $62 million for up to 25 years will allow the district to continue with a 3.5 debt millage, and that'll be presented possibly by March 10th. We will actually review this in the BOV study session March 10th. And that'll be all.
So I just want to clarify one date, because we've got a lot of people in the audience tonight that I know are invested in this. We will not have recommendations for the board on March 17th.
Okay.
We'll be in a process that will likely take 4 to 6 weeks in terms of reviewing the bids and some developer interviews. I would anticipate probably a closed session conversation for the board with legal counsel in April, and then recommendations at the May regular meeting. That would be probably a normal timeline of that. So I just want to make sure to clarify that. Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
All right. And Mrs. Bonnick, are you doing facilities for us? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
We met on February 19th. The facilities group, we had members from Barton Mallow with us, as well as Chris Storm, Director of Operations, Vicki Lasky, and Mark Nelson from Technology. We had a very full agenda, and there are 4 items that we are bringing forward today that we discussed. One was the RHS renovation project.
and the playground renovation project at Washington, the lawn service contract, as well as the technology resolution at the ninth grade academy, the large venue AV systems. So those are the big things that we talked about. In addition, we did have a discussion regarding some work that needs a pause button and a redesign at the high school courtyard project. We also went over all the change orders. None of them required board approval, and all of them do fit within the allocated contingency amounts for each of the projects. Most of those have to do with once you get into the project or get underneath the soil or behind the walls, there's a change. We did talk about the lawn service RFP. We also chatted a little bit about our custodial service and looking at what type of contract or create an extension in that area as well. And we talked quite a bit about the bond planning, very similar to what Mr. Boyer just announced as well. Any questions on facilities?
So just to clarify for March, we have 2 committee meetings on the books right now. Safety and policy on March 3rd and March 5th respectfully. Facility subcommittee, because we have a few of these projects that actually have pushed into March that we originally thought might come to the board tonight. We may need to stand up a facilities meeting prior to the March 17th board meeting just to review those items, but I'll let the committee know as soon as probably the end of our construction meeting tomorrow. So I'll let you know if we need to get together just to review those.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, March is a busy month for school districts and our board as well. Moving on to superintendent's report.
We'll start with academic services. Mr. Murray, elementary.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to give you a few quick updates tonight. The first is related to our PD and student day off on March 5th. So if you haven't marked your calendars yet, now's the time. Next week, we'll have our teachers in to work through primarily on a better understanding or creating a better understanding of our ELA curriculum's approach to writing. It's significantly different than we've used in the past, I'll say the past 20 years, right? Typically, when we were using balanced literacy, it was more of a voluminous writing without a lot of the technical details baked in that we know make us a good and coherent writer. And so we need to better understand how that looks, not only at the grade levels that we teach, but across K-5, right? And then teachers will have some time to also collaborate and share with their grade level colleagues kind of below them, if you will, about some of the struggles that they experience with students when they come to the next grade level, if you will, just really kind of as a way to create a heads up. Hey, if they get nothing else, make sure they get these things, because when they come to us, we want to make sure that they're ready to, perform the writing tasks and expectations in the grade level above. We're also going to further zero in on IXL. I've spoken to the board at several meetings about the benefit that we believe that IXL has given us, especially based on our current approach, which is implementation with a little more fidelity and the ability to kind of monitor what students are doing and provide them the support that's necessary. There is a lot. I liken IXL to Microsoft Office or even the Google Suite, right? There's so much there that we don't know how to use because we're not, our the daily functionality of the tools just is right here for a lot of us, but there's so much more there. And so really just want to give teachers the opportunity to fully understand the program so they can do what they do best, which is work with kids. So we're excited about the 5th. We've got some other things going on as well, but those are the primary focus. That's the primary focus of the day. Ms. Ikor said that March is a busy month, and that's correct. At our schools, especially the elementary level, March is reading month. We like to think that every month is reading month, but March is when we have a special focus on it. And so I know all of our elementaries are feverishly working at putting the finishing touches on the programming and work that they'll have for the entire month of March. If anybody on the board is interested in reading at any of our buildings, please reach out to me, and I can coordinate a time for you to go ahead and visit our K-5 students, they'd be thrilled. They're always thrilled to have adults, that they don't know in buildings, and even me, really. And so, we'll get you in there and get you set up with an opportunity to read to a class or two. So. And then ad nauseum, I know this was mentioned earlier, but a math pilot update, right? Our pilot teachers have been working super hard, to just kind of cold turkey pick up a new curriculum, and in this case, 2 new curricula within a very short period of time is a significant challenge. I've had the opportunity to touch base with some of the teachers just to kind of hear the pros and cons of the programming that we are piloting. No decisions are made, obviously, but just really kind of checking to see how things are going. I know that they're keeping copious notes, and when we get to a spot where we're ready to compare the 2 programs, they'll be ready to give it their all. Our kindergarten through 4th grade pilot classrooms right now are in the 3rd week. I say 3rd week, but we've had some cold days and the like in there of working with our Bridges materials. And then our 5th grade, because it fit better with where students would be if we were forging ahead with Engage New York, is using Amplify Desmos. And they will, again, take on Bridges. Next week's supposed to be the end of the first phase of our pilot, but I'm thinking we may have to go a week deeper just to make sure that we do have the opportunity to fully vet it out. And so our 5th grade will be switching to Bridges while everybody else is doing Desmos. So excited about the progress so far. Thankful that we've had so many people to volunteer to do this good work, because it is important for all of our students, and can't wait to see where it takes us. So questions for me?
Mr. Murray, I don't know who to file this protest with, but when we moved spring break to the last week of March, we lost a week to guest read.
Yes.
So we might want to exceed the norm of March.
Every month is reading month.
Thank you.
Okay.
As Mr. Murray had shared, Wednesday, March 5th is a PD day for all of our staff. So secondary is feverishly planning. The high school is going to do some vertical alignment between 9, 10, 11, and 12 in the core subject areas. So they've been really working hard during their PLC time during the day, creating some curriculum maps aligned to the standards. And they've actually begun to identify where a standard is introduced, where it's mastered, and where it's reinforced. So we're pretty excited about that work at the high school. The middle school is going to continue working on their culture with capturing kids' hearts and some activities with that. I actually get to facilitate one, so I'm a little nervous because I've never facilitated it, but I'm excited about it. I'll let you know how that goes. And then they're also going to get some time to do some vertical alignment between 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for some of the content area. We've actually been able to find some time during the day utilizing building subs for content area grade levels to meet, because they do not have the built-in PLC time as the high school does with the block schedule. As Mrs. I-Course shared, there's some exciting things going on with our academies. You heard about, a couple of our programs tonight, recognizing CTE month, but in March, we're going to have our annual retreat on March 18th from 2:45 to 4:45. You should have an email in your inbox inviting you, and there's a Google form just so we can plan for food and table assignments. There's work to be done. And then Mrs. I-Course shared this Thursday, we're going to have a beautiful day, and we're going to have our first annual nonprofit exploration fair at Romeo Middle. We still have over 60 participants, so we had a couple drop out, but then a couple who couldn't make the first one are able to make this one. So we're thrilled to be able to offer this to all of our students. A little under 1,200 kids will be going through. So we've prepped. Jen Rasevich has done a great job prepping the partners and sharing what questions the kids will be asking. And we're actually at the end of it going to give the nonprofits an opportunity to network with one another. That was a suggestion that one of them made, that they go to things but they never get to talk to the other people. So we've given them a little bit of time afterwards to do some networking themselves. So are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Just a couple items in my report to support any further questions that the board might have in terms of some of the action tonight. So in terms of the facilities bond and our contract approvals tonight, the RHS renovation project, that's got some significant HVAC equipment replacements. We're adding some wall protection in the corridors in certain parts of the building due to the narrowness of the hallways and the high volume of students. Sometimes just drywall isn't enough. And Mr. Storm and his team are getting tired of patching drywall, so we've investigated an aesthetically pleasing but yet durable way to kind of put some more protection in some of the corridors. And then we also have some drinking fountain replacement going on that's in alignment with the recently approved filter first requirements across the state. Elementary playground, the site work, you'll remember last month we needed a little extra time for Washington, so that resolution's on the table. Mr. Nelson is also here if there's any questions about the three large space AV system replacements in this building. So any questions, I've got folks here to answer those. We can get them up to the building, up to the podium. We're good? All right. So for our March regular meeting, we're going to have the balance of drinking fountain replacement projects, that's Croswell and our elementary buildings, that we'll be bringing. We had to rebid that due to, help me with what we had to change, prevailing wage contractual rates to align with leveraging those grant funds. And then we'll also hopefully have the proposal for furniture, new furniture, classroom furniture here at the 9th grade. We got another important meeting tomorrow on Thursday on that, so hopefully we'll get there. So in terms of communications around our bond efforts, there's a couple things. First of all, second on my list here, we have a special edition of the Bulldog Bulletin that Mrs. Brush and myself and a handful of others have been working on really since the first of the year. That's celebrating our transformation. And sometimes in the busyness of each day or each year, we don't really realize that we're coming up on a decade of building improvements. And we're grateful for the community's support for that. And so we're taking some time and kind of this bifold publication that'll be going out. Hopefully it'll hit mailboxes next Monday or Tuesday that just allows our voters and our community to sit back and kind of see full scale what's happened in the last 9+ years, and how that is really connected to our transformation as a system in our instructional program. Because, we've had these conversations that the average person might drive by and see construction going on. They might see fancy kaleidoscope windows, on the new addition at Croswell, but there's a lot more to that story about how that's really supported a bigger change in our instructional delivery and adding more programming. So look for that. We also have, after the first year, kind of updated our bond projects list, and so I'm going to ask Antoinette to just flip us over from the slideshow to the web page. Maybe. All right. Okay. So on the district homepage, you'll see towards the right of the secondary page tabs, there's a tab called Bond Projects. And what you're going to find in there, different in the years past, is you're going to see our most current. Ooh, Mr. Murray, you're making progress. There we go. So you'll notice there's some primary pages in the Inside RCS, Board of Education, Schools, and Academies at Romeo. just above that, we call our secondary pages. And so on the far right, you're in the bond projects page. And the first thing you see, if you'll scroll a little bit, Mr. Murray, is the most updated bond construction timeline. And that's hard to read where you're sitting now, but if you're on your own phone or home computer, you can click on that and we'll actually pull it into a closer projection. So 1 and 2, of course, we're at the tail end of and completed. 3 are things that have been in design this year and are beginning this spring and going through the first part of next year. And then 4 would be those projects that are in design next year and would begin in the spring of 2026. Will you scroll down to the better part, Mr. Murray? So we then have these picture viewer windows for the different groups of the 2021 bond that actually give the viewer kind of a chronological view at some of the primary projects. And so it's our intent at least 3 times a year, but hopefully quarterly, to update the photos in here so that our residents can actually see the projects. So in some cases, you're seeing group 2 projects that are completed and enough information on the screen that you know what you're looking at. But you can certainly dig in further if you want. Below the group 2 projects, we kind of go further out in chronological order. So group 1 projects, and once again, these are done. We have a series of 3 or 4 pictures. Sometimes in the cases of like the Indian Hills there, you don't see that from 29 Mile because the new addition is in the back of the building. And if you ever just want to, the viewer can control how fast the pictures slide, and you can view all photos. There's a link to that. So what's going to happen in the next few months with this is we're actually going to put in a viewer window for the 2016 bond photos, and then we'll add in group 3, but in most cases you'd be looking at rendering or architectural drawings, and as those construction projects start. We've just had a lot of conversations, sometimes in the facilities subcommittee, sometimes in requests or input from the community to say, hey, where can we find out more information or see everything that's happening? And so we've worked with some support from the technology department, Mrs. Brush, and some staff from Barton Mallow to kind of bring this to life. And I'm excited that this will be here for our staff and our parents and also our residents. All right, can you get us back to the slideshow?
All right, thank you for that update. It's really great to see those pictures too. I know when we approve bonds, sometimes it's hard to visualize how long it takes to complete all those projects, so please check out that website. We're gonna move on to our first public comment. I do not have any in my stack. I have a large stack here. I don't have any that pertain to tonight's agenda specifically, but just a reminder, if you would like to speak in the last public comment, please get your slip in before we start that at the end. So we are going to move on to our regular meeting action items. I'm going to begin with Resolution A, which is Employee Services. It was a fairly short personnel update. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Bonnick,
Second.
second by Bowman. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item B, Employee Services Resolution Number 21. This was from the Leadership Priority Group 4, and it was referenced in our curriculum report tonight with a much-needed special services supervisor position. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I support.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Chahaki, support by Bowman. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Facilities Resolution Number 22, which is the Romeo High School renovation project.
So moved.
Moved by Bonnick,
Second.
second by Bowman, or is that
Chahaki.
Chahaki? All right. Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Item D, facilities resolution number 23, playground renovation project at Washington Elementary. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Chahaki, second by Bowman. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, facilities resolution number 24, the lawn service contract.
So moved.
Moved by Bonnet,
Second.
second by Chahaki. Questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item F, technology resolution number 25, which that is in regards to this building's ninth grade academy AV system.
So moved.
Moved by Bonnet,
Second.
second by Bowman. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item G, businesses services resolution number 26, the general fund budget amendment. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Chahaki, second by Boyer. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And lastly, item H, business services resolution number 27, the 2021 facilities bond sales of the third series, which Mr. Boyer referenced in his committee report. Can I have a motion?
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
I don't know who gets that one. Mrs. Bowman?
Bowman Boyer.
Boyer,
Oh.
second.
They already put me in there,
All right.
sorry.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Moving on to board discussion. Anything for the good of the district? Comments?
I would like to add a little bit to what Todd was talking about. If you are at the Romeo Middle School, the STEM Robotics Center, a bunch of us went up there to check it out when they had their open house. They actually are able to set up the entire field in the area now, so they're not going off-site or anything. It's great to have it all right there. So they're working on the robot, testing the robot right in the facility. A huge advantage for the team. So good job to the community there and providing them that building, that whole workspace and work center. It's
Yes,
awesome.
it was a great open house last week.
Yeah.
If you got to be a part of that.
Yeah, the kids have a great robot going right now.
Anyone else? All right, then we are going to move on to the last public comment. These are arranged in no particular order, so I'm going to call Mr., forgive me if I butcher anybody's names, Mr. Deemers, Sean. That's right, we have it. All right, just a reminder to you and to everyone else, you have 3 minutes to speak your comment.
Okay. Hi, Sean Demers, 58253 Kathy Street, Washington. Just wanted to talk about the potential future use of the Prospect Street property. And I know there's been the green space proposals and considerations, so I would like to see it go that way myself. Being the Board of Education, I guess you're interested in educating kids and future generations. And I think it'd be a good opportunity. There's been discussion about that space. If it's turned into more of a green environment space, could be good for education of kids on ecology, environment, that kind of thing, space for community to enjoy versus some kind of development that's going to not be that, it's going to be an opposite kind of thing. So I think it could be a real benefit to the community in the future. So that's what I think. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Sarah Casper, and then Andrew Gomez will be next.
Hello, my board. I'm gonna apologize now. Words and me don't mix. The writing, I have always been a problem, so I'm gonna do the best I can. Just fair warning, might be a little difficult. Hello, my Board of Education. My name is Sarah Casper. I live at 70130 Mellon Road, Bruce Township. My children attend Romeo schools. My daughter is a junior and my son is in 8th grade. I am a painter of family trees and sculptor of concrete and recycled objects, as with my media, that being my medium of choice. I show my work in local galleries almost exclusively in Macomb County. 2 sculptures I have created are on permanent display in the village of Romeo, including Juliet's potential, a glass bottle wall using red blooms to symbolize how our community thrives when we raise our voices to hear what Juliet has to say. I am a member of Starkweather Art Center, the Romeo Guild of Art, and the Detroit Society of Women Painters and Sculptors. Art, nature, and community are paramount in my life. This is my story. During my youth, I was a very confused girl who didn't quite fit into any mold. I have been an artist and a gardener since my earliest memories. My strong points in school were math and science. Generally speaking, artists back then they flocked to language arts and history, not math and science. Not me. I myself struggled with those squiggly lines called letters on paper. My brain is designed to work in shapes and colors. Numbers came especially easy to me due to their association with symbols and concepts. Even though I was quick to grasp the mechanics of the concepts, my grades did not reflect my understanding. My entire life has been embroidered with pain, but those early years were especially difficult and greatly impacted my ability to take tests. I wasn't ever mentally present in school, and my grades took the brunt of the blow. However, when my prideful parents moved us from the busy scenes of 10 and Hoover to the calm and slow life of Armada, my life changed for the better. Growing up with nature's best fields and streams in my own backyard allowed me freedom from heavy lessons I was sorting. Nature was a major pillar to my long journey of healing. When my children were born, we searched for a house that would be perfect for their growth, both mentally and physically. After finding our forever home with a beautiful park next door, it became apparent to me that nature could solve many more problems than just my own. This is especially seen during the hardest parts of our lives, our adolescence. Nature is vital to our minds. While I am still not certain of anything in life, even decades after graduation, I have learned that culture and innovation go hand in hand. Natural spaces being accessible in our historic village bring benefits similar to that of my park. Bruce Township Park has helped shape my children's lives. The Prospect Street property would not only pay homage to the minds that were grown here, but pave the way for the minds that are to come. It
You're
is
at
beyond.
your 3 minutes. Continue, but
Thank you.
you're over your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
could wrap
I
it up.
only have a couple of
Okay.
left. It is beyond a virtuous endeavor to be resourceful, respectful, and reciprocal. The 3 R's that I remember and the biggest lessons in my life. These 3 R's are consistently the strongest lessons in my life. I ask the board to consider not just the brains of our future, but our minds as well. Please, this green soul is not the only one in need of nature's remedy. I know life's needs are difficult to balance, but like planting a tree, the best time to plant it was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Thank you for considering my story when deciding the fate of the opportunity to grow balanced and wise minds of our community through green space on Prospect Street. Peace, love, unity, and respect. Sarah Casper, thank you.
All right, Andrew Gomez, and then Don Roshan. Did I say that correctly? Close enough? You'll be on deck.
Hi, board. My name is Andrew Gomez, and I live on Main Street with my wife, Catherine, and our dog, George. We moved to Romeo nearly 5 years ago, and we can't imagine wanting to live anywhere else. My wife and I are already active members of this community. I'm a trustee on the Romeo Historical Society board, and my wife is a curator at the Historical Society Church Street Museum and a member of the Romeo Monday Club. For Romeo to be our forever home, we want to be proud of our community decisions. We believe making the 297 Prospect property a green space is a service to the whole community, not just a subset of 17 homes. While my wife and I make our decision whether we want to raise children in Romeo, we are actively watching the decisions of the current school board. It's important to us for the practices and teachings of Romeo schools to align with our family values. Our families live in abundantly park-filled cities that are known for their long lifespans and happiness, including San Francisco and Minneapolis. Making this a green space not only impacts us, but the happiness and longevity of generations to come. Our love for this community is demonstrated in our passion to show it off at every opportunity. We have brought coworkers, friends, and family to the Christmas tour, Tilston Street, the Garden Walk, the Blacksmith Shop, Peach Festival, and new business openings. We were married just a few miles from downtown at Trillium Farms, and we drive in the vintage car parade each year. We're working to bring back the RHS barn tour to invite even more people to visit Romeo. If a green space were preserved at the 297 Prospect property, we would proudly show off this space. We would not bring people to see 17 newly built homes. We love to walk our dog throughout the charming historic neighborhoods, which are so well preserved in Romeo. The lack of peaceful green space has been something we are not proud of in this village. Bruce Township Park is one of our favorite locations as it's peaceful, well-maintained, and connects us with nature. Coming from a long line of farmers and gardeners, we dream of the Prospect property supporting a community garden and native plants to balance the grass spaces in Bruce Township Park. Catherine, my wife, and I would love to support Romeo Historical Society walking tours through the green space as we share this rich history of Romeo and show off local historical significance. In all of the Romeo events and clubs and meetings that we've attended, we have yet to meet a community member who did not want this to be a green space. While this decision cannot be easy, the community is watching to confirm if this is a school board we can trust to make the right decision for all of our futures. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, Donald Roshan, and then Elizabeth Miller, you will be up next.
Good evening, Board. It's a pleasure to address the Board again within the last 6 months. I was here before you in August. My name is Donald Brashan. I live at 4100 33 Mile Road, Bruce Township. I am the president of the Romeo Area Optimist Club. And I and my wife are longtime residents of Romeo, Bruce, 36 years. And all three of our daughters attended the Romeo schools, K through 12, graduating with honors and going on to 3 different Michigan colleges, graduating magna cum laude. I have presented a letter to the Green Space on Prospect Street on behalf of the Romeo Optimist Club as a show of support for them. The mission of Optimist International is to bring out the best in youth, our communities, and ourselves. We feel very strongly that what is proposed by Green Space committee is an excellent example of a project that can bring out the best in our community. We are especially excited that Green Space will afford an opportunity for people in our community to gather for community events, and we envision our own club sponsoring events at Green Space in the future to benefit the school district and our community. We ask you to strongly consider the offer Green Space Committee will present to you to ensure that the property at 297 Prospect will become a source of enrichment for our community and our generations to come. Thank you.
All right, Elizabeth Miller, and then George Johnson will be on deck.
Hi, good evening. My name is Elizabeth Miller, 227 Chandler Street in the Village of Romeo. Welcome, new board members. I know that I thank you for my family as well for your dedication to the community, and I know that it is a selfless service. Be the change you wish to see in the world, a quote attributed to Gandhi, found on t-shirts, posters, and tattoos. Someone in our community embodies this quote. On a spring day, 2 years ago, he placed letters on approximately 20 windshields in my neighborhood. That short, friendly letter became a foundation for a grassroots effort to save 297 Prospect Street, that's now known as Green Space Romeo. Fast forward 2 years later, and we see a room full of people who also embody this quote. Be the change you wish to see in the world. While not a quote I learned from my parents growing up, they did teach me to fix things when they were broken, lend a helping hand when you see it's needed, and when you don't like a problem presented to you, become part of the solution. Be the change you wish to see in the world. A photo was found that Romeo Community Schools had this very quote on a local billboard. While I don't know when this billboard was up, it did bring a smile to my face. This community wants to embody this quote with you. However, I'm not suggesting that we all go out and get tattoos together. Your community is here. Your community is watching. Let's make our community proud together. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you.
George Johnson is up, and Sue Poosh, apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly, you will be next.
Thank you so much. My wife, Michelle, and I are at 345 Prospect Street. Really fortunate to be just 3 doors down from the green space. I really appreciate you all and your service to our kids and our community. As I sit on several boards and committees at a local church, I've served for 35 years as pastor, and in the last 10 years on the board of the Detroit Bible Institute as vice chair. And just in the last 8 months, I was really honored to be selected to an international board of our North American Baptist Conference's 400 churches in Canada and the U.S. as vice moderator. I really do know your sacrifice and your service, and I really, we appreciate it. My wife, Michelle, is a lifelong high school biology and chemistry teacher here in Macomb County, served at Fraser High School for 19 years and New Haven High School for the last 9, nearing retirement. She also serves as the National Honor Society chair, teacher sponsor, and so she and I both have dedicated our lives with great joy, by the way, to serving this community. It was a long-time goal of ours together to move to the village of Romeo. Me growing up in a small town in Maine and her in a little town, St. Clair, Michigan. We lived right on 8 Mile Road initially, and then in Sterling Heights, in the heart of the city. Boy, to come out to Romeo, where we would often vacation for one-night getaways to the Brab House and catch a concert. The Younger's Tavern in Romeo has always been in our hearts, and in 2017, our dream came true. Again, just living 3 doors down from the Romeo Middle School at the time in 2017 when we moved into this amazing neighborhood. Again, our dreams came true. A nephew and niece would often walk to our house after school. What a joy that was. The vibe was almost idyllic. When the middle school was torn down, we, along with many of the neighbors, as you can see here tonight, were very concerned about what would become of this space. Hearing of the possibility of a developer coming in, putting up maybe 17 or 18 houses deeply concerned us, as it's right in the heart of the historic homes in the village. This green space has nearly a 200-year history of being a place dedicated to the enrichment of this community. For us, this space has almost a sacred feel to it. It's our hope that the school board would make the decision to allow this space to be protected for generations to come. May future residents of Romeo be able to experience what so many past generations were privileged to experience in this very space. The concern many other residents share is that the space, the residents of Romeo, faithfully maintained for so long, could be sold to a builder. It's a deep concern. While this may be the legal right of this board, it does seem unethical. Our tax dollars and so many generations before us supported this space for, nearly 200 years. And now many of us are willing to put our own resources forward. Okay, I'll skip to my last statement. Would you just take a 15-minute walk before your vote? Just a 15-minute walk. Stop at the corner, near the corner of Church Street and Prospect, and look at that big stone memorial. I'm not even going to tell you what it says. It's unbelievable how that space has been used over the years. And you might need boots for the mud, but just take a few minutes and walk through that space. And just thank you again for your time and consideration. We hope, again, generations to come may be as enriched as the generations of the past have been. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Sue Poosh and Charles Turner, you will be next.
I'm Sue Posh. I live on 341 West St. Clair Street. I'm a lifelong resident of Romeo. Our family has been in Romeo for 6 generations. My ancestor, Edwin Giddings, was on the board of directors for the University of Michigan Romeo campus. My maternal grandparents graduated from Romeo High School located at 297 Prospect Street and went on to college. My mother and her 8 siblings graduated from the high school at the same location. Along with my sisters, brothers, and several cousins, I went to school at the same building when it was known as the junior high. My husband, Michael, served on the Board of Education here. His principal interest was curriculum. I know in my heart that he would endorse the GSAP's proposal to purchase this property and develop it as a green space, arboretum, outdoor space of learning for all to enjoy. The Romeo school system has a reputation for being at the forefront of educational innovations. Many of the surrounding communities have dedicated outdoor spaces to provide educational experiences. Romeo students have made field trips to Dinosaur Hills in Rochester and Seven Ponds in Dryden. How wonderful it would be to provide them with the same outdoor education experience right here in the heart of Romeo. It is my sincere hope that this board will seriously consider the proposal that GSAPS will be presenting to you. GSAPS is offering our community the opportunity to honor the educational history of this property for generations to come. Imagine a toddler watching a monarch butterfly, an older student discovering the rare protected trillium. Imagine grandparents sitting on a bench and explaining to their grandchild how ants and other insects pollinate flowers. GSAP's vision is to create an outdoor classroom where students of all ages can enjoy this property and learn about the wonders of nature. We are offering our community an outdoor educational space that will be here for generations to come. When you look at the proposals to purchase the property at 297 Prospect Street, I trust that you will seriously consider the GSAP's offer. Our proposal goes far beyond any dollar amount on a check. We are offering our community an outdoor classroom without 4 walls, a ceiling, and fluorescent lights, a place that will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. During the day, we can learn about our native flora and fauna and the different cloud formations. At night, we will be able to observe the phases of the moon and learn about the identity of the constellations. This place matters.
All right, Charles Turner, and then Dave Putt will be next.
Good evening. My name is Charlie Turner, and our family farms at 6621 33 Mile Road. It's pretty tough. I'm following some excellent testimonies from the people in this audience, and it's a bunch of tough acts to follow. But what I wanted to talk to you about Prospect was that I'm not a naive man. I understand that you have a very heavy fiduciary responsibility on your shoulders. That being said, sometimes, and I was a businessman my whole career, you have to look at a situation and see both sides of the coin. There is something here that transcends dollars and cents. Green Space will be making an offer to you. I don't know if it will be the best. I don't know if it will be the worst. But as you look at it, I want you to consider what comes along with their offer. You, as a group, have the opportunity to choose between development, which will essentially make that space disappear and probably none of us will speak about it again, and make it into a beautiful green space, park, whatever you want to call it, that will be enjoyed not just by you folks, not just by the people in this room, but by generations to come. This is important. This is an opportunity for your small group to create a legacy. It's, when I think about it, I'm too old for our son to enjoy it, but I think it's important for young kids to get out in the fresh air. I've been a board member at Seven Ponds and a volunteer for over 50 years. And the one thought I can leave you with is I have seen firsthand the effects that being outdoors has on adults and children. And I can't emphasize enough how much on children. We live in an age where kids are stuck on their iPhones, they're stuck on screens, and it's really kind of sad. I envision that property being a park, a place of learning, special education classes, a meeting place, an entertainment place, a sports place. So much you can offer this town. And I understand that development's very tempting, but you've got a moment in history, and I really, really urge you to take advantage of it. It's really a signature moment. It's one of those things that it's not going to come along again. There's not going to be another property that pops up somewhere else in town. You have the chance to create an open park within the confines of our town. And that's something that just isn't going to happen again. And I urge you to look at the GSOP proposal. I urge you to remember that this is not just dollars and cents. And I urge you to preserve that piece of land. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Go ahead. Thank you, Charles. Dave Putt and Kimberly Voss will be next.
Okay, well, that's a tough act to follow, too, right? Good evening, President Eichhorst and members of the school board. My name is Dave Putt. I reside at 72011 Campground Road. I have resided there since 1984. Both of our children attended and graduated from Romeo Middle School when it was located on Prospect Street. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Macomb County Master Gardener Association, abbreviated MCMGA. I am their past president, and I'm here to show our support for the Green Space project. The mission of the MCMGA is to educate others through the dissemination of environmentally sound research-based horticultural information and to enhance the beautification of our community through volunteering and related activities. We, the association, feel very strongly that what is proposed by the GSOPS committee could be an excellent example of how a Master Gardener project can both educate the public and provide a beautiful space to benefit both our residents and our native fauna and flora. We are especially excited that the GSOPS master plan includes the installation of both pollinator and rain gardens. I personally, and many of my Master Gardener colleagues, have extensive experience in the installation and maintenance of these types of gardens. We have offered our services to the GSOPS committee so that the gardens will be maintained for the benefit of our residents and pollinators for years to come. We also envision that the green space and gardens will be an excellent venue for teachers and group leaders to educate our young people about the importance of providing habitat for pollinators and providing green solutions to stormwater runoff. The MCMGA also has a small grant program to aid Master Gardener projects in Macomb County that could be used to support the gardens at GSOPS. I will definitely submit a grant application if the opportunity arises. We ask you to strongly consider the offer from the GSOPS committee that is before you and help ensure that the property at 297 Prospect Street will become a source of enrichment for our community for generations to come. Thank you.
Kimberly Voss and then Kevin Voss, you are next.
Hi, I'm Kim Voss. I'm a resident of Romeo and a lifelong educator in support of Green Space of Romeo. I do recognize the fiscal responsibility imposed on the Board of Education and also the limitations that inspires. I also know that your primary role is to provide an exemplary educational experience for your students. I want to commend the Romeo Board of Education for an educational program that is recognized statewide as innovative and relevant to the needs of today's students. I love the passion of your teachers. I simply believe the land on Prospect Street being maintained as a green space can enhance your educational product. While it is easy to imagine the environmental and wellness opportunities of a green space, it may not be as clear to everyone how 297 Prospect Street, land that for generations has been devoted to education, can continue to provide a learning experience, from outdoor classrooms to QR codes and signage that relay information and relevant links, to online learning options, to green Space of Romeo-led events, to working with Romeo School District teachers, the learning possibilities that the land and community can support are priceless. When I look at this land, I see a place of learning. I see a place that can strengthen the core curriculum. I see, for example, the Michigan History Unit being bolstered. Imagine an indigenous garden where students learn about Native American plants, how they plant corn in circles with beans growing up the stalks and squash on the perimeter. Students can read about environmental advantages to be gained by these traditional gardens. They can hear stories about the Anishinaabe people who gathered here for their winter encampments. Think about how our young people can learn about shapes in the real world, about area, perimeter, and circumference. Students will remember their outdoor learning experience as they study the natural world and make scientific observations. These learning experiences will be real world, hands-on, engaging, and authentic. In addition to strengthening the core, K-12, Green Space can enhance the Academy Pathways model of the Romeo schools. As you know, the middle school plans to partner with local nonprofits. Green Space of Romeo is a local nonprofit, and it can partner with Romeo Middle School to encourage a service spirit among students. I see students learning about nonprofit organization and management, taking advantage of opportunities for leadership and internship, and also participating in a junior master gardener program. At the high school, Green Space of Romeo can strengthen the existing academy model that promotes a career pathway. Teachers see the ways Green Space can enable them to build student skills. Additionally,
please
a
wrap
Green
up.
Space on Prospect can provide another option for your SERVE program. In closing, this place does matter to all of us. I urge you to continue the legacy of this land as a place of learning.
Thank you. Next, we have Kevin Voss, and then Richard Corey will follow.
Hi, my name is Kevin Voss, and I live at 247 North Fremont in the village of Romeo. I am a retired educator with 1 year of service in Romeo Community Schools about 45 years ago, before the layoff bug hit. You are soon going to make a very historic decision about the property at 297 Prospect Street. I hope it will be a historically good decision. When Nathan Dickinson facilitated the land on Prospect Street being owned by the Romeo Community Schools, the intent was that it would serve as a place of learning. He did what was good for his community far into the future. When Romeo Community Schools recently tore down the middle school there, it was a sad day, but it was one that was easy to understand. A future decision not to sell the land to Green Space of Romeo, I believe, will be another sad day that will not be understood or agreed with by many. We are fortunate that people desire to move and or visit Romeo. They know Romeo has an excellent school district, and they love the historic charm of our village. Once they are here, they find the neighbors to be friendly and enjoy walking the streets. They appreciate the historic nature of the homes, and they enjoy the historic buildings of our downtown. 297 Prospect as a green space will serve as an enhancement to that feeling. To me, it seems a remarkable thing that we have a group of people here who have worked hard to save the land on Prospect Street as a place where people can go to reflect, to rejuvenate, to visit with friends and family, to play, and to learn. The people who led the way are not professional fundraisers, yet they raised a substantial sum and were able to qualify for a loan from a local bank. They also formed a nonprofit, filed for tax exemption, drafted bylaws, established a board of directors and committee system, held community meetings, and conducted surveys. They did all this in response to community input. They did all this to show you that they are willing to work hard and are committed to their community, to your students, and to the future of the land on Prospect Street. They were disappointed when you chose to open up the RFP process, but they are not quitters, and they are relieved to see they are not obligated to accept the highest bidder. Like the mascot, they are bulldogs. So more hard work followed. They met again with the community. They told the story of Prospect Street through social media and on their website. They started a petition, they asked for letters of support, and they conducted another survey open to all. The results show that 96% of the hundreds who responded do not want the sale of land only to go to the highest bidder. They do not want the sale of the land to someone who will fill his pockets with as many houses to make a nice profit.
Please
They want
wrap up,
this
Mr.
land to be a
Voss.
green space in the heart of Romeo forever. I'll skip a bunch of stuff because I thought I was faster, but I'm not. To me, it really comes down to one simple question, okay? And it really is, to me, what would Nathan Dickinson do?
Thank you. All right. And next we'll have Mr. Corey coming up, and then Kristen Brewer will be followed.
Thank you. I'm Richard Corey. I live at 322 Chandler Street. And I do, too, want to welcome the new school board members. And I appreciate how the school board has patiently worked with our group for nearly 2 years and look forward to continue that as we move forward. The Romeo School District has a rich and long history of taking extra property that it owns and using it for the community. Let's just take Croswell, for example. There's a lot of extra property at Croswell. You built 3 baseball fields there and a soccer field. And that would have been a lot of places there you could have put homes, but you didn't. And you did the same thing at Amanda Moore, Hamilton Parsons, Washington Elementary, the middle school, and then you even had a developer who gave you the property to build Hevel. Then at the North Grade School, where I went to school, that is you didn't take that building down. You made that your administration building. And it's one of the greatest buildings in Romeo right now. And also down in Washington, you didn't demolish their high school in Washington. That's now a museum that they use for educational purposes. And then I grabbed your flyer here from 2025, and it says your mission here is to embrace the community. Your vision is to invest in community advocates, and also to increase the number of community partnerships to support our schools. So that's your strategic plan for 2025. So most school board members, and I think this is kind of interesting, when you're going to be a school board member, you are a school board member for at least 10 to 15 years. And why are you on there that long? Because you want to do good. You want to do good things for the community. You want to do good things for the school. So let's just fast forward 15 years from now. So in 15 years from now, you got your grandkids or your older kids, and if you walk up by a 297 Prospect, you know, you're going to give a little wink to that and say, hey, I had a little bit to do with that if there's a park sitting there. So I hope you continue with your strategic plan. And on a personal note, after tomorrow night, after I announce the girls' varsity basketball game, that'll conclude my 38th year of helping out here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corey, for your service and your comments. Kristen Brewer, and then we will finish up with Ed Kiefer.
Perfect. Good evening. My name is Kristen Brewer. I moved to Michigan from Texas 2.5 years ago. I don't live in Romeo yet, but decided to get involved in the green space effort because I believe so strongly in the importance of public green space. I'm a former special education teacher, PTA and Girl Scout volunteer, and I'm a mom to 2 adult daughters and 3 adult stepsons. I raised my daughters in Austin, where we lived within walking distance to a neighborhood park. It was one of many city-owned parks that are open to anyone who wants to come, not restricted to particular subdivision residents. Going to the park was a huge part of my daughters growing up. We met friends old and new at the park, attended community activities, worked on scouting badges and school projects, and explored and enjoyed nature. Having access to public green spaces is really essential to a vibrant community. Having been a teacher and having had both of my parents be science teachers, I also know the incredible educational value of green space. I'm currently working as a guest teacher and have worked in almost every school in the Romeo district. My experience has been nothing but positive. To be honest, I don't want to work in any other district. You offer a phenomenal educational experience in Romeo, and adding a green space can only enhance the educational opportunities for students of all ages and abilities. Students can learn about social studies and history, science, landscape and garden design, and so much more. Students receiving special education services can address their IEP goals, such as self-regulation, communication, following a routine, fine motor skills, and also more. Furthermore, learning in an outdoor classroom setting offers real-world application of knowledge and skills, provides inclusive and collaborative experience, and more importantly, is relevant and fun. I recently came across a speech that was given at the dedication of the Dickinson Institute on October 18, 1854, by Professor Haven of the University of Michigan. And this is quoted from that. "It is young, but it is only a little more than 200 years younger than the oldest school in the United States. That it may continue more than 200 or 2,000 years even is my sincere desire." The speech may have been referring to the Institute itself, but the legacy is that 297 Prospect Street has been an educational cornerstone of the community for 171 years. And for context's sake, that's only 9 years younger than the whole state of Texas. I'm so hopeful that the educational tradition of this space will be preserved for at least another 200 or even 2,000 years from now. Thanks.
Thank you, and Mr. Kiefer, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Kiefer.
Okay. We get entertainment with this.
My name's Ed Kiefer. I live at 160 West St. Clair with my wife. We are also dog walkers, and we frequently walk around Prospect Street, 297 Prospect Street. My son and daughter, they graduated from Romeo also. We moved here 19 years ago, and about a year ago I wrote this song about this effort. It's called "This Place Matters." On a barren land where the rock still stands, a remnant of years gone by, our chance to save this site from an early grave of memories and alibi. In the shadow of the old Gray's house, once tattered, a canvas for nature's flare. Children's laughter, the pitter-patter of paws and raindrops, chitter-chatter, bells of Abbey ringing through the air. Bis Avensis says we don't need no more fences, rolling stops, concrete motor fumes. What we need is less speed, carried away by that gentle breeze on Prospect Street from July to June. Stories untold will soon unfold, and one day reach 1,000,000 blooms. So open up your blinds to the kryptonite of hard times and meet me in that green space living room. 'Cause this place matters. Feel that grass run through your toe. 'Cause this place matters. A garden of connecting souls. 'Cause this place
place matters. Sacred spot in the heart of town. This place matters. Save these old middle school grounds.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was probably the first public comment like that we've had, so thank you very much. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Boyer, seconded by Bowman. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.